2 words with a hyphen in between. CHEEZ-IT. Florida State Seminoles are in the bowl season once again for the first time since 2019, looking to bring home a 10-win season for the first time since 2016. This is Florida State Seminoles Live, the 192nd edition. I am Jason Parker from NBC6. That is Logan Robinson, Old Game Day. Logan, you look like you were not in Tallahassee. Where are you this week?
No, we're at Rosen Plaza, the media hotel that CHEEZ-IT Bowl set up for us. Been in Orlando since Monday, going through all of the events, including us being at the amusement park yesterday with the kids and FSU, Mike Norvell, Brent Venables, and the Oklahoma football team. So it's been a very busy and fun week overall. The CHEEZ-IT Bowl reps have been absolutely phenomenal for all of us, for all the media members, and we've been spoiled. I'll tell you what, we have a dinner planned here in just a little bit. We had our Top Golf last night that was just for the media only for 3 hours. I feel pretty special. Jason.
Now, is this your first bowl game you've covered for Florida State?
First one being credentialed, so to get all of this kind of access is pretty nice.
Okay, make sure to always get the swag bag. You want to take the free meal back to the hotel. Always get an extra plate to take back to the hotel. I'm sure you get the box of cheese.
The bar. So upstairs at the very top, there's a presidential suite, unlimited alcohol. That's been a problem for me. There's a reason why I just got done running, because I'm trying to get out a lot of beverages that were taken in last night. But, there's a thing open till all the way 2 a.m. here in the hotel after the game. The game should be over by 9, so it seems like we're going to have a nice night tomorrow. Definitely, if Florida State is able to come away with the win, it should be a little bit better, more excitement afterwards.
We're going to talk plenty about the CHEEZ-IT Bowl, plenty about the Oklahoma Sooners over this hour. But first, before we get to that, let's veer back to last week. Let's finish up on early signing day, the early recruiting process. Florida State had a big day up and say they were able to keep Hakeem Williams, the big 5-star wide receiver from down here. They were able to keep – they really only lost one guy on Wednesday, fall to Auburn. But they picked up a big flip on Thursday, getting Conrad, 4-star safety from Fort Lauderdale, St. Thomas Aquinas, flipping from Penn State to Florida State. Talk to me about that one, Logan.
That one was a big one. It's something that we were watching for a little while after probably his visit. There was concern from Penn State side of things that he might not stay a hard commit, solidify them being with the Nittany Lions. And we kept a close eye on it, had the visit, and then pretty optimistic that Florida State was going to make that flip on Wednesday. It ended up being on Thursday. Some things maybe last a little bit longer than expected. I think really Penn State made one last move to try to keep him with them. But at the end of it, Florida State, Marcus Woodson, Adam Fuller, and including, of course, Mike Norvell are able to make the flip there. And a much needed get because of that position room. If you look at it, you don't know what Jamie Robinson's going to do. I personally, I think you'd probably agree with me, Jason. He's on to the NFL. We don't know, though, what Akeem Dent, what he's intending on doing, too. That's probably a big question mark heading into after we get done with this bowl game. There's going to be a few question marks, and Akeem Dent will be one of those, because I think going into the season, we thought, yeah, he has a chance to go pro, but that's not the case. I don't think at this moment. I think throughout the season, a lot of kind of injuries lacked him a little bit. So I would probably lean towards Akeem Dent returning, but you never know with all this kind of stuff. We haven't seen him really sign. We've seen the Battles End Collective be able to help retain some of these players. We haven't seen a post, and that doesn't mean that he's not staying, but it's one of those things that we're keeping a close eye on. Florida State's got to have some time to that safety room right now. And it's young. You have Shyheim Brown back there, but you've got to have more guys that you can develop on your own. And you can't rely on the transfer portal every year. And so having a guy like Conrad Hussey come in, if you look at some of his film, really more of a smart player than anything. He knows and reads the quarterbacks pretty well at the safety position, good at takeaways. He's got a nice body frame to him. So Coach Storms, once he arrives, I don't believe he will be an early enrollee. He will be arriving in August. So kind of going through a Julian Armella type situation there, where Julian Armella didn't get to participate in the spring, but arrived in great shape for fall camp. But that's what I'm expecting out of Conrad Hussey. The commitment ceremony, once again, likes to load up the blood pressure for FSU fans as usual. Getting every hat, putting the hats away. He gets up, and puts on the hoodie, and he's got the FSU logo on there. So a stressful time even for us that cover the team and are ready to hit publish and post. But a really nice pickup for Florida State in that future of the defensive backroom, specifically at the safety.
I'm not going to lie, I was shocked because Penn State had 3 coaches, including Manny Diaz, their defensive coordinator, former Miami Hurricane coach, who was at the state championship game for St. Thomas Aquinas on December 11th on December, I believe it was 15th. I apologize, when they beat Homestead, and we're all there. I thought it was Penn State, but I'm happy. You talk about the transfer portal. Florida State, the number 1 ranked team when it comes to getting transfer players in this 2022 so far off season. Braden Fisk is a defensive tackle coming in from a directional Michigan school. Talk to us about this one.
Yeah, another position where you've got some question marks about it, because if you're looking at Fabian Lovett, what is he going to do? You already know Robert Cooper's gone. You lost Jarrett Jackson included there. Florida State needed to go in this portal and grab an experienced defensive lineman. This is rated the number 1 defensive tackle in the transfer portal per 247 Sports. So overall, you've got to like to pick up a really physical player on the inside. Just projecting here on what you can do with them. Definitely if Fabian Lovett comes in, you've got 3 really stud defensive linemen returning next year. If it is Fabian Lovett, you've got Joshua Farmer, which we've seen really great signs from, and then you add in Frisk. That's a lot of experience that Florida State needs, because you have a younger group right now. They're developing, and we see signs of them at practice, and you're seeing a little bit more playing time for a guy like Daniel Lyons, who has been absolutely dominant in some of these last practices, and it's been so influential for them to have these bowl week practices for a guy like Daniel Lyons and Ayobame Tafase and a Bishop Thomas, and even Ontavious Woody, who moved from offensive lineman over to defensive lineman. It's been huge for them to get these extra couple of weeks of practices, but specifically having Fisk come in adds more experience. You're going to have a guy that is physical, good against the guards on the inside, and you lose Robert Cooper. We'll see what Fabian Lovett ends up doing, but having experience there is big. And going back to it, you lost Jarrett Jackson. He's on to another school. You've got to have some experience there. Jarrett Jackson committing to Michigan State, so he's going to go get up there into the cold. So also not down here with the team practicing like a guy like Amari Gaynor, Keyshawn Hill, and some guys that have entered the transfer portal. Definitely a guy like Gaynor who's visited a few other schools across the country who I'm expecting to see participate in this bowl game. Jarrett Jackson not with the team down here practicing, and he's off getting ready for the Michigan cold.
Amari says to announce on the 30th. Where do you think he heads?
Right now, I'm feeling West Virginia. Jason, I'm feeling West Virginia. He's got a connection with Garrett Green, the West Virginia quarterback there. Played over there at my school at Childs. I think there might be a close kind of tie-in there, and I'm sure West Virginia could use him. But that's probably where I'm leaning right now. But he needs to make a smart move for himself, a business decision, and more playing time is what he wants. Or maybe he wants to be utilized in a different kind of aspect. I like him as dropping down and being a pass rusher on the line there. Maybe that's what he wants to do more of. He did that in high school level. They dropped him back more into that linebacker, outside linebacker role. I'd like to see him move into that pass rush more than anything, but we'll see where he ends up picking. But I just think it's really unique to see Mike Norvell, what he's been able to do with the culture-wise, have guys that have entered the transfer portal. They're practicing right now, and we could see them play on Thursday night. I just think that just goes to show the trust that has been built between Florida State, the coaching staff, Mike Norvell, and his players. It's been a nice culture shift in Tallahassee.
One of our comments wants to know the latest on Ventrell Cypress. What are you hearing on him?
Ventrell is, at least right now, I don't think anything happened today, but Ventrell Cypress is the top, if not the top cornerback in the transfer portal right now. He visited Florida State, the only official visit so far for him. Like I said, unless anything happened today that I missed. But, there's some schools that I think, might need to monitor here, including LSU for a visit. That would probably shake up some things. That's why Florida State was really hoping to push to get the commitment pretty early and put it away. Just kind of how you saw with Fisk there. Florida State would love to add in another defensive back. You can probably comment on this too, Jason, because you know what you get out of Renardo Green. And I talked with Jamie Robinson about that on Monday. And I think people sleep on Jamie Robinson. They forget that Jamie Robinson's on the roster because he's not talked about so much on broadcast because he's doing his job. There's not a lot of wide receivers beating them on routes, or they're mossing them. I really like the way that Renardo Green played this year, and I'm super stoked for his 2023 campaign. But you've got to find someone on the opposite side, and you do have talent there, and you're seeing signs of Jarian Jones, the growth there for him and the improvement. You're seeing Azrae Thomas jump in pretty early in his football career for Florida State. But Ventrell Cypress is Ventrell Cypress. That is a talented player on the defensive side of the ball, and you need someone that can be on the opposite of Renardo Green. So Florida State's going to push, and they're going to continue to push as they should. It would be a much-needed pickup too, and that's going to be a question mark right after bowl game that will add onto the list of will they be able to kind of seal things up earlier than later. I think they've got to, or things kind of get mixed up, and you could see him picking another school. But I think LSU right now is probably a school to monitor, and if an official visit is scheduled or if it's being done anytime soon, it's going to be a rather tougher than what the situation was about a week ago.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big game because I legitimately think Oklahoma is going to have the best quarterback, I would argue, we've seen since Sam Hartman. I mean, with all due respect, we knocked out NC State's quarterback. Clemson was a shaky room, and then after that, I mean, Anthony Richardson was decent running the ball, but I don't think he did anything specific with his arm. So I think this is the first time our secondary is being challenged. Did we lose Logan? There we go. Logan, don't do
Hotel Wi-Fi.
Logan, don't do that to me. The Rosen Plaza has great. My people do it big for you.
They are doing a great job. I think we just maybe had a little hiccup here. We have the whole marching Chiefs here. The whole Chiefs. Coming up to the room. I've got jam packed with marching Chiefs. I think they were just at the parade or the pep rally. I guess they were calling the pep rally earlier. So the marching Chiefs are here. Was told yesterday that they're going to have Osceola and Renegade, and then they'll have Oklahoma's mascot Boomer Sooner. They'll have that out there. So I'm interested to see Renegade versus the Ponies out there. If we see maybe an altercation. I'm always about content, Jason. So like if I can get an article and spice it up for the Facebook crowd, I will do it. But keep an eye on Renegade and the Boomer Sooner, the Ponies out there. It could get really interesting tomorrow night. But the weather is beautiful, Jason. I wish you'd be here. The weather is gorgeous. There's a hot tub down there, Jason. We could have been down there. We could have done the show from the hot tub. Don't you think everyone on here would love a hot tub stream of Florida State versus Oklahoma preview?
I think you're taking it to that next level by saying that, number one. Number two, I know you love your band nerds, so shout out to the Marching Chiefs. I know you love them on that one, so shout out to them on that one. Let's turn our attention now for recruiting to the whole reason that Logan actually left Leon County for the first time in a while. The Seminoles are in Orlando. The Seminoles, for the fourth time ever, are in this game. They played on the inaugural edition in 1990 when it was the Blockbuster Bowl in Miami. Twice since it was in Orlando, beat the hell out of Wisconsin, and then got past Notre Dame in 2011. But it's Florida State, Oklahoma. Tell me this week, what is this week of practice been for the Noles? What have you seen so far from the Seminoles this week?
So today we had the press conference. We had Brent Venables and Mike Norvell. Really nice press conference. Brent Venables, really likable person. I feel like I could just sit down and chat with him. And Venables is really high on where Florida State is as a program because he's seen it be built, and he's seen it from the rock bottom, literally, all the way to now what Mike Norvell has built to a 9-3 season. A lot of respect, definitely from both coaches. Mike Norvell too. Brent Venables gave Florida State some big time problems all throughout his career at Clemson as a Tigers defensive coordinator. So both know each other pretty well, at least from past experience, even before both of their jobs at Florida State and Clemson. Oklahoma going through a rough year, but it's their first season. I have respect for. I think Venables will do well. They just got a really nice recruiting class too this 2022 year, so things will be bright for them in the future. But it is the kind of the transition way, and Brent mentioned it. There's going to be some guys on Thursday night that won't play Florida State. On the other side, has no opt-outs, and I can't emphasize the impact. Definitely in the game, we'll see it Thursday night. It's going to kind of go maybe a couple quarters, but I don't think Florida State should have to be fighting with Oklahoma in the fourth quarter, and that's going to be due to a lot of guys not opting out, playing. You've got Jamie Robinson saying he's playing. He said he was playing before they even announced an opponent or which bowl game they're going to. They are going to play to get this 10th win. That has been the focus. And on Monday's press conference when we first arrived, these guys must be going through some study sessions or something, but they're telling us statistics that usually the SIDs tell us, but they're saying we've got to be the 25th team to get the 10th win. And they're telling us all different kinds of things. Mike Norvell has made it a big time priority for this program, alongside with his players, that this 10th win means a ton, and they really want to do it for the FSU fan base. A lot of those players, including Jamie, Jared Verse, Jordan Travis, saying, they want to get this 10th win for the FSU fans, which, looking around now, Orlando, it is jam-packed with a lot of Seminoles, but FSU fans do deserve definitely a 10-win season after the last couple of years, and these players are going to put in the work, and they have been. We haven't been able to see. We had a practice this morning that we saw for 2 minutes max. Yeah, that was not fun, not used to that. We're kind of spoiled with Mike Norvell and Tallahassee, at least, where we get to go all 2.5 hours Monday and Wednesday. But due to the bowl game and also Oklahoma here, if FSU is going to give full access like they usually do, then that means that Oklahoma has to, and I don't think Oklahoma really wants to do that. So got to be on an even playing field. So we saw only just a few minutes there. I was trying to look and see if Fabian Lovett was dressed out and practicing. Couldn't catch him before we got kicked out by the SIDs, but saw Jordan Travis pretty fired up, clapping, and it seems like this team is really looking forward to Thursday night. And a few things they mentioned that they're tired of hitting one another. It kind of felt like fall camp a little bit with the last couple of weeks going against each other. They're ready to face someone else, and luckily we're less than 24 hours from that being so.
You mentioned that a little bit about the non-opt-out. So we've talked over the last couple of weeks since the Florida win about Jordan Travis coming back, about Trey Benson coming back, about all the guys who are returning. And then you look at an Oklahoma team who I can name 4 guys right now that are opting out of this game. Florida State so far, Jared Verse is a guy who's probably I think he leaves, or I think he's out. Darren Robinson, both of them, I would not have been upset I would have understood if they had opted out of this bowl game, but they are not. How big is that for Florida State to have virtually a full lineup come Thursday night against Oklahoma?
Well, if we want to go just, on bullet points here with Oklahoma and Florida State, Oklahoma will be without 2 of their starting offensive tackles on Thursday night. And that is something that we'll talk about tonight, because Florida State, it's been definitely Jared Verse, Derek McLendon too, rising and improving week by week. You see the Pat Payton signs of what we're going to see in 2023. Oklahoma not having those tackles is going to be a struggle. 2 of those guys will be starting for their first time. So I believe 1 or maybe 2 of them are freshmen. I believe at least one of them are. So it's going to be an awakening. I think Brent Venables in the opening press conference a couple of weeks ago when the bowl game got announced said that it's going to be when these 2 guys are going to be fit. FSU's pass rush, including Jared Verse, it's going to be like a baptizing for them. So Venables knows what these guys are going to be going against. And then look, too, offensively for Oklahoma. You know what you got with Dylan Gabriel, but now Oklahoma's leading rusher will not be playing in this game, including their 4th leading receiver will not be playing. So that kind of hurts Oklahoma's offense. They're an explosive team, just like Florida State. 2 explosive teams, which it should be. You should see a lot of shots taken on Thursday night. It should be exciting, but Florida State has all of their weapons playing in this game, including guys that are in the transfer portal that have already visited other programs. That just goes to show the turn that Mike Norvell has been able to do in that locker room. There's not a lot of, if not any, teams in the country right now that have something like that going on. Maybe there's a few of them, but for a big brand like this, a Florida State program that just went through kind of absolute hell the last couple of years, to be able to go to this 3rd year and switch things around really goes to show what Mike Norvell has done, and the whole coaching staff, and alongside the off the field staff that Florida State and Mike Norvell and Michael Alford put together during this offseason. That's been a big impact in recruiting, transfer portal, and getting guys prepped for games. This off-field staff has done a really nice job, and Mike Norvell continues to praise them. And I wouldn't be shocked if you see more off-field hires as Florida State continues to, I won't say it, kind of continues to climb until
Had to. There's the C word and the D word. I had to say the C word. God.
Yeah.
Along those lines, and you've called me the negative Nancy on this show before, so I'll play the negative Nancy rule for a moment. Do you think there is any? I don't want to use the word disappointment, but the fact of the matter is, Florida State was in line. There was a possibility of playing in the Orange. There was a possibility of maybe could they have snuck into a New Year's Six bowl game? Somehow, some way. There was a thought there at the end. Now you're playing in a bowl named after a cracker that you and I used to eat when we were drunk in college against a 6-6 Oklahoma team. Do you think there is any chance of maybe some people look at, because we're a 10-point favorite. I couldn't tell you the last time we were a 10-point favorite against a power program like Oklahoma is in name recognition wise. Is there a chance of a possible letdown?
I'm not seeing it. I don't see, Dylan Gabriel would have to have the game of his life, honestly. And this game is also going to be managed, I believe, by Florida State. I think it's going to be a game plan put together kind of like what we saw against LSU. Minerville was able to hold a lot of that time of possession. And, you saw Jordan Travis out there on the field quite a bit, and they'll take those explosive shots when need be. But on the running game, though, I think it'll be more successful than what we saw in New Orleans. Looking at Oklahoma's rush game defense, not as great as what LSU's was. I think looking at Trey Benson, Treshaun Ward, Lawrence Toafili, they should. I wish we could bet here in Florida because I'd put a decent amount on Florida State rushing for, they could rush for over 225, 250. I think on Thursday night. That just goes to show what Florida State's offensive line too has done, and Coach Atkins, because we kind of forget, this offensive line used to be god awful. I mean, it was atrocious, and Florida State has been able to open some holes to where, whoa, hold up now. These guys can just go jump to the second level, and FSU has the talent for these guys to put some moves on someone and take it for longer gains. And Florida State, I think, too, just that running back room. Overall, you should see a lot of players get some playing time, including true freshman Rodney Hill, who now get cleared for bowl games, a new NCAA role. So we're going to see more guys that were going to be potentially redshirted. They can still play in the bowl game, which is really nice. I just don't see where Oklahoma is going to be able to maintain what Florida State's going to be doing offensively just throughout the night, at least in the run game. And if things don't work on the run game, then Brent Venables brought it up. There's some monsters on the outside, including Johnny Wilson, and they're trying to put a game plan together on the defensive side to be able to stop him. And there's a lot of respect for Brent Venables, and it's the same way for Mike Norvell too, because of Brent Venables' past and what he's been able to do in his previous stop at Clemson. And I expect a better defense. Brent Venables is going to be prepared for that rushing game, but I just don't know how long that can last. Like I said, a couple quarters maybe, but after a while, I just don't think so. And then on the other side, I think on defensively, it's Jared Verse and those true freshmen on the offensive tackle position. I don't think it will be too fair. We saw Jared Verse go against Will Campbell, who was at LSU, the true freshman at that tackle position, and Jared Verse won that matchup all night long, mainly bull rushing. So those two reasons right there give me a pretty optimistic feeling that Florida State will be leaving Camping World Stadium with a nice win in reasonable fashion.
No bill wants you to go to the Hard Rock if you want to gamble. So
how far away is that?
There's one in Tampa. There's one around here. So either way, it's
But I can't do sports betting. And that's my thing. I like doing sports, but I'll play blackjack. I'll do some roulette, but I want to do sports betting. I want to do some sports betting. I don't think you can do
what? You know what, Logan? I bet you can do the best right now. I bet you can do it. I have
Do what
faith
right now?
the best promo.
Oh, I would love.
Why we gotta hit the like button. This is your first one on the road. This is your first one outside of Leon County, I believe.
Yeah, it might be because we traveled to New Orleans early in this year on that Thursday. So yeah, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure if you do that, Florida State will win the game. We did it before the UF game, ended up working out. I think it's been like a 95% hit rate this season. So hit the like button. Also, if you have any questions or anything that you want us to talk about tonight or any topics, make sure you throw them down in the chat. I'm sure Jason will throw them up here that both of he and I can answer. But make sure you hit the like button, and it should be a good time here. Definitely, if you're in Orlando, don't be shy. If you see me, I'm usually wearing this hat, so come say hi. If Jason was here, as long as it's not a Miami fan, then Jason won't have to fight anybody. But if you see me, come say hi. I would love to see.
I am credentialed for the game. I may be a game time decision. I have not decided because the question is, do I call in sick from work on Friday? That's where the question comes into play. So if you want to put that in the comments section, does Jason call in sick to work on Friday?
I think you should. I think it might be worth it because they're not going to have any more. I mean, you'll have NFL football. You're going to have some more college football, but Florida State football.
We won't have much NFL football. The Dolphins are almost done down here, so Tua can't straight or anything. So yeah.
Oh, too soon. Too soon.
No, it's a fact. Sorry, Tua should not have come back so soon after the concussion, and he got rushed back, and now he's probably done for the season. So whatever.
Let me ask you a question, Jason. Let me ask you a question. Who do you think on the FSU side? Who do you think on FSU side should? They don't need to, but should expected to have a big game. We always talk about Jordan Travis, but eliminating Jordan Travis, who should against Oklahoma? Who should have a big game on Thursday night?
Well, Jordan Travis is my favorite human being because he's a South Florida guy and he wears the number 13. So obviously he's the greatest quarterback, probably in our country. Forget those 3 Heisman Trophy winners. He's our best quarterback ever. I'm totally being sarcastic. Don't blow me up in the comment section. I'm going to go with, I'm going to say Michael Pittman. I think Pittman's going to come out. I think you look at what Florida State did this season. You look at what Jordan did. You look at what Trey Benson did at the running game. The wide receivers did much better than in past years, but also at the same point, I think there is something you're going to put so much in the box to focus on Jordan and Trey that a receiver's going to be open. And I have a feeling like Pittman, this is time to shine. This is his time. National stage, big opponent. I see him. What about you?
I'm going to go, and this might be an easy answer here, but I'm going to go Trey Benson. I think this could be highlight tape kind of game for him, to be honest with you. Put his name out there, and I think FSU fans are going to be very glad that he announced that he's returning in 2023 because I think he's going to put out a highlight show on Thursday night. And then there's going to be a variety of guys in there like Treshaun Ward and then also Lawrence Toafili. But I think just for Oklahoma's defense and breaking tackles, something that they've kind of lacked in this year defensively, which you're not used to with Brent Venables. His type of defense, it's just Trey Benson. It's just not easy to tackle him whatsoever. It usually takes the third player or so. One of the hardest running guys after the tackle. He's just been phenomenal this season. So I think probably Trey Benson overall, and definitely what Mike Norvell wants to do offensively, because I think there's going to be a run, take a shot, run, take a shot, like you saw against the Tigers back in September. Against LSU's defense. And if they can do that, they should be able to manage things. And Florida State, I think there's got to be a lot of smart play, discipline play, because it's been more consistent than inconsistent this season, which has been nice to see an improvement there from last season and certainly the year before that. Consistency with discipline, I think, Jason, will be another one for Florida State to have a rhythm throughout the game. And this is going to feel like a home game, too. This is going to feel probably 75% FSU, a little bit of the rest will be Oklahoma. This fan base is ready to come, end off the season on a high note and also support this team that put together a big-time season with 10 wins and leading into a lot of excitement into 2023 to where, too, I want to bring this up to you, Jason. Florida State will be playing here next season to kick off 2023 this is a nice perk. But you know who else is here? LSU is in town for their bowl game. So both teams already kind of getting a feel for what it's going to be like when traveling down here, practicing, going through the whole scheduling, watching film, yada, yada, yada events. They're already going to kind of get a feel for that. So that's a nice warm up for what's going to come next season, what should be Labor Day weekend. Could be a top 10 matchup, Jason.
That's going to be my question. We'll get to that one in a moment. So I want you to give me, this is a two-part question for you. I'm going to put your brain to the test here on this one. Give me the matchup that you're most looking forward to seeing for Florida State, and then give me the matchup that worries you the most.
Matchup I want to see the most? I want to see... I don't know if it'll be entertaining as much, but I do want to see that those offensive tackles go against Jared Verse, a lot more healthier Jared Verse too. Was still recovering from his injury in the middle of the season. He's now, fully participating. He's going to be playing on Thursday night, but this will be the healthiest we've seen him since early in the very beginning of the year. So I'd probably go that. It's more of just entertainment at that point. I kind of feel bad, but it's going to be entertaining to watch that. So if you're going to be in the stands or watching, keep an eye on number 5 and what Oklahoma is going to try to put there, and maybe switch some things up at offensive tackle. But from what I heard from Brent Venables today, they're going to ride with these guys with not a lot of experience, and that just goes to show. I just feel like Verse right now, is licking his chops, getting ready for tomorrow night. And then one that, might, cause Florida State some problems. I'm going to look at Florida State's linebacker room and Dylan Gabriel. I think with the pass rush coming on the outside, I think he's going to get a little scrambly. I don't know if that's a word. Jason might have to look that up on the dictionary, but I think he's going to get a little antsy in the pocket, and he's going to go and run. And he's a guy that's a dual threat quarterback. He doesn't want to run, but he can. He's broken open some big runs this year for Oklahoma, and they're facing a talented quarterback. Dylan Gabriel, I think that linebackers will have to play smart. They've got to play smart. I'm interested to see, I think it will be kind of Kalen DeLoach's job there on keeping an eye on what Gabriel wants to do. But I think he's going to get antsy with the pressure coming on the outside. And Florida State, if Fabian Lovett does end up playing, that's going to also be a problem there for Gabriel. So make sure you're playing smart, and all of Florida State's linebackers will be playing tomorrow night. So it should be good, but you got to play smart. Don't allow a 3rd and 12 or a 3rd and long for Gabriel to break out and break one open and get one, because he's done that this year for Oklahoma.
We're going to bring in a special guest here, Parker Thune from Oklahoma 24/7 website, in here to talk about the Sooners. Parker, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, fellas, not a problem. How we doing?
Logan, are you afraid that there's 2 Parkers now in the room?
Yeah, I'm getting a little scared, and I'm in between them too, so that's making me a little bit more nervous.
Oh, that was planned. That's what happens when you let me run this show. We're going to totally make it. Parker, thanks for joining us. My first question to you is Brent Venables. This is his first season, obviously leading the Sooners, and by Oklahoma standards, I would say 6-6 is a disappointing season. What assess Brent's first season as head coach for Oklahoma?
Yeah, it's been an up and down campaign, a lot more downs than ups, and a couple things stand out to me. One, this team just hasn't developed an ability to win football games, and that is a skill at the end of the day. It's an art that some teams have mastered. I would say Florida State has been really good at it in 2022. Oklahoma has not. They've been in a lot of close football games that they have ended up dropping by one manner or another. And obviously the loss that sticks out in everybody's mind is the 49-0 loss to Texas. Obviously there were extenuating circumstances there. I don't know that anyone believes that performance is indicative of the type of football team Oklahoma actually is when at full strength and when they have a quarterback at the helm of the offense. But I think it's a case of a lot of guys that hadn't played a whole lot of football together having to learn a very intricate defensive system, in particular with what Venables runs and has run over the course of his coaching career and what worked so effectively at Clemson. it is complex, and it is something that requires a very high football IQ to learn expediently. And so I think that helps explain some of the defensive struggles that this team encountered. You also just got to look at the fact that Lincoln Riley, in his 5 years at Oklahoma, really did not recruit very well on the defensive side of the football. And on the one hand, it kind of does feel like sour grapes to blame the old coach for the new team's shortcomings. But Venables had to work with the hand he was dealt, and defensively, the hand he was dealt had a couple of outstanding players, the likes of Jalen Redmond and Woody Washington and Billy Bowman. But for the most part, there were a lot of guys. There was a lot of dead weight on this roster. And you've seen that with the way that they've processed over a dozen players to the portal since the regular season ended. So it wasn't something that a whole lot of folks saw coming, but in hindsight, maybe it was something that people should have seen coming, just based on the hand Venables was dealt and how new many of those guys were to each other, as well as just their inability to learn to play with one another and execute their role within a new scheme that quickly.
You saw new players, obviously. You have a new player quarterback this season. Dylan Gabriel transferred in from UCF. So we're looking at stats: 2,900 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Was he everything you expected when he came in, or were you expecting more out of him this season?
I wouldn't say he hasn't lived up to expectations in my mind. I think there were plenty of folks that probably set their expectations for Dylan Gabriel a bit too high. And look, there were people throwing his name around in the Heisman race before the season. That was never realistic. That's just not who he is. He's a fine quarterback who's going to play largely mistake-free football and give you an opportunity to win. What he is not is the quarterback that Oklahoma fans have become accustomed to, which is somebody like Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, somebody who can will a team to victory of his own accord with a superhuman performance. That's not Dylan Gabriel's MO. That's not what he does. That's not what he's capable of doing. And that's fine. He shouldn't have to be that. But because that has become the standard at Oklahoma, I feel there were plenty of folks that concluded the 2022 season with a sense of disappointment with the way that Dylan Gabriel performed. But you look at the numbers, statistically, he is decidedly in the upper echelon of quarterbacks across the Power Five. I don't know that he left a whole lot of meat on the bone with his play. Yeah, there were throws he could have made that he missed, but you can say that about any quarterback across the country, right? Even the best, even the Bryce Youngs and the CJ Strouds and the Caleb Williamses are going to miss throws on occasion. Dylan Gabriel he took a few shots, missed a few deep throws in particular that I'm sure he would like to have back. But all in all, he was very stable at the quarterback position for Oklahoma. And this was a team that was going to need to improve all across the board if they were going to win double-digit games with Gabriel as the quarterback. And in reality, and in all honesty, that's a team that needed to improve and will need to improve in the future if they're going to put themselves back in national championship contention. Because if OU fans took anything away from Lincoln Riley's 5-year tenure as Oklahoma's head coach, it's that recipe, relying on the quarterback to bail you out under any given circumstance, is not sustainable once you start going toe-to-toe with the powerhouse programs in college football.
Parker, I appreciate you hopping on here with us, giving us some good insight to Oklahoma. Moving a little bit into tomorrow night, we've been in Orlando, getting to know Brent Venables quite a bit. I have a lot of respect for him, definitely, as a coach, what he did to Florida State for a long while as DC with Dabo Swinney up there at Clemson. A lot of respect there for him. It seems like a very likable person, just, being around him this week. Going to a few players, we mentioned it earlier on in the show, but you'll give better analysis for our listeners and a lot of FSU fans that are here. Who is not expected to play for the Sooners on Thursday night? Because right now it seems like it's kind of a 180 to where Florida State is going to be fielding their entire roster tomorrow. What will be missing for Oklahoma, both offensively and defensively?
Yeah, well, from an injury standpoint, the only starter Oklahoma is going to be missing is center Andrew Raym, who's been a key component of the offensive line for Oklahoma over the last 2 seasons, but they do have a 6th-year senior in Robert Conjal that can fill his shoes and has done a pretty adequate job, has seen time at multiple positions across the offensive line in his 2 seasons at Oklahoma since transferring in from Arizona. From an opt-out perspective, the Sooners are obviously without star running back Eric Gray, who's moving on to the NFL. They're without defensive tackle Jalen Redmond, who's moving on to the NFL as well. And then what I think is crucial and where the Sooners are going to have to find some answers going up against a very outstanding Florida State front seven is they're missing both of their starting offensive tackles. Wanye Morris and Anton Harrison, the latter of whom is expected to be a first-round draft pick come April, both opted out of this game. So the Sooners are presumably going to be rolling with TCU transfer Tyler Guyton, who's a redshirt sophomore at right tackle, and then true freshman Jacob Sexton at left tackle. Now, I really, really like Sexton. He's an Oklahoma born and bred kid. Got to see quite a bit of him throughout his high school career, and I think he's capable of holding his own against your average Power 5 edge rusher. But a guy like Jared Verse, right, is not your average Power 5 edge rusher. That's one of the best defensive ends in the nation, and a guy that in his own right could hear his name called on day one of the NFL draft in a few months. So I'll be very intrigued to see how Oklahoma approaches that situation with the knowledge that they're starting a couple of second teamers at the bookends on the offensive line, and kind of the way that they scheme and dial up the offense in order to address the reality that they don't have their 2 outstanding offensive tackles available in this football game.
On the flip side of that, who are some of the players that maybe have flown a bit under the radar? Who are some of the guys that should be watched for Oklahoma come tonight?
Yeah, well, one guy that has really, really come on strong over the second half of the season is 6th-year senior defensive back CJ Colden, who transferred in from Wyoming this past offseason. He did not start to begin the year. Did not play a whole heck of a lot to begin the year. Didn't really see substantial snaps even in garbage time until the TCU game. So you're almost halfway through the regular season at that point. Lo and behold, Colden takes advantage of the opportunities that he's given throughout the month of October, has an interception against Texas and a highlight reel interception the following week against Kansas, continues to see that snap count increase. And by the end of the regular season, I think most Oklahoma fans would tell you there was not a more pleasant surprise on the defensive side of the ball all season than CJ Colden, who led the team with 4 interceptions and played some outstanding ball on the outside, complimenting Woody Washington at the other cornerback position. So that's a guy that, as of right now, I expect to declare for the NFL draft after this game. But he's somebody that's back, did not choose to opt out, chose to come back for what I presume will be his final collegiate game. There's a chance that he decides to return in 2023, and he would qualify for a 7th year of eligibility if he wanted it, but safe money is on him declaring for the draft at this point in time. So defensively, be wary of CJ Colden, especially for Florida State, having the likes of Johnny Wilson lining up out wide. You're going to need a physical and very technically sound defensive back to hold his own in a matchup like that, and CJ Colden's the type of guy that's capable of doing it. Offensively, I will underscore a couple of guys, one being true freshman running back Javonte Barnes, who has been the primary complement to Eric Gray over the course of the season to date. Now he gets the chance to be the feature back, and this is a guy that, I mean, this is going back probably 2 years at this point, long before Oklahoma was even in on him as a recruit. But I remember watching Javonte Barnes tape and instantly going, yeah, this guy's the best running back in the 2022 class. And I truly did believe that, truly do believe that. And as a true freshman, he's already made his presence felt in the Oklahoma offensive attack out of the backfield. Had one 100-yard game on the year, again, primarily working in spot duty in relief of Eric Gray. Now he gets the chance to be the feature back. He gets the chance to carry the workload primarily on his shoulders in this game. So I'm very intrigued to see what he can do with 15, 20 carries as opposed to 5 to 10. And the other guy that I'll underscore is another true freshman, as a matter of fact, and that would be slot wide receiver Gavin Freeman, a former Texas Tech commit who elected to walk on at Oklahoma over FBS scholarships elsewhere. Scored a 46-yard touchdown on a reverse in the very first game of his collegiate career, the Sooners season opener against UTEP. And much like Colden, a guy that as the season has progressed, he's gradually started to see his snap count increase and increase and increase. And the wideouts that you're primarily going to need to account for in the Oklahoma attack are Marvin Mims, Jalil Farouk, and Drake Stoops. But Gavin Freeman, I think, and I don't think his ceiling is quite this high, so this is a loose comparison, but I think long-term at Oklahoma over the next 2-3 seasons, he projects to a role not unlike that of Tavon Austin about a decade ago at West Virginia. He's not sizable, about 5'8", but he's quick, he's dynamic, he's a burner, and he's somebody that you can use in a multifaceted role offensively. So really intrigued to see his role continue to grow at Oklahoma.
Yeah, Florida State fans know very well about Javante Barnes. We're close in that recruitment, along with some other teams, but they were trying very hard. And Minor Bell usually is able to grab some of that talent, but at that certain time, it just wasn't going to be the case in Oklahoma. What they've been able to do with their program, you're always spurting out, usually first, second, third round running back talent out of there. Dylan Gabriel, what do you think on Thursday night? We're now less than 24 hours from kickoff. What do you think Dylan Gabriel will have to do? I know we kind of started off with you coming in and you're telling us about how he played throughout the season. Specifically in this game, what do you think that he's going to have to do on Thursday night against Florida State's defense to get down there? Because I believe, Florida State has been one of the highest scoring teams in 2022, and I'm interested to see what Gabriel want to do. Definitely, if there's pass rush, like you said, there's some inexperience at the offensive tackle position for the Sooners. With Jared Verse on the other side, you've got Derek McLendon. I think you could see Dylan Gabriel kind of move around a little bit if he gets antsy. I personally think Florida State's linebacker room has to play really smart and keep an eye on Gabriel because he can scramble and he can run. His main focus is wanting to take care of the ball and pass if that's the assignment. But what do you think Dylan Gabriel specifically Thursday night will be the game plan for them?
Yeah, I think as far as Gabriel is concerned, what's going to be paramount for him in this contest is that, A, he keeps the ball out of harm's way, which is usually not a tall task for Dylan Gabriel. He's pretty smart and pretty stingy with the football. But the other thing is you got to keep moving the chains on third down. And that falls as much on the shoulders of the wide receivers as it does on Dylan Gabriel. But that's one thing that's been an issue for Oklahoma throughout this 2022 season is that he and his wide receivers have just not been on the same page and haven't been able to connect in a lot of instances on third down when the time comes to move the sticks. Gabriel, it seems, has been a little bit more prone to getting flustered in those types of situations, perhaps compounded and goaded by the reality that his receivers have made some key drops in those kinds of situations throughout the season. So I think time of possession is crucial. And that's a battle that Oklahoma usually loses because of the way that offense is engineered and how quickly they move. But I think this is a game in which if Oklahoma wants to win, they're going to have to slow things down and they're going to have to win the time of possession battle and they're going to have to dictate the pace of the game because I don't see this team winning a firefight against Florida State. You mentioned it. Florida State's one of the highest scoring teams in the country, very potent offense with Jordan Travis as the trigger man. And so if it comes down to a shootout, if that's what this game morphs into, I favor Florida State. I mean, in general, I favor Florida State anyway going into this football game. But Oklahoma's path to victory, I think, involves winning the time of possession battle, and that's not something that they're typically inclined to do.
All right, before we get to the prediction portion of the show, we're going to have to settle this right now. Parker, your favorite CHEEZ-IT flavor?
Ooh, favorite CHEEZ-IT flavor. See, I'm not a CHEEZ-IT guy. I was having this.
Who hurt you, child? Who hurt
man.
you?
See, I was having this conversation with my co-host this afternoon on the radio, and I'm more of a Goldfish guy than a CHEEZ-IT guy. So I didn't realize that was like a big snack rivalry. Apparently, it is. I'm pro Goldfish. Never really delved too much into CHEEZ-ITs. I mean, I'll eat them if they're there, but I'm never going to buy a box of CHEEZ-ITs at the store. I'll always lean Goldfish.
Parker, I was going to ask too, just fan base wise, what's kind of the feel for attendance wise for Oklahoma and fans getting down here? I know right after Christmas holiday stuff going on, and the weather has been absolutely wild, and it's been pretty tough here at the Oklahoma airport. I know that some of y'all's beat from Oklahoma just got here just last night. But what do you think fan base wise? What are you hearing? Are a lot of fans excited to get down there? Are they staying put? What's kind of the vibe right now?
It's interesting. I don't really know what to expect because OU does have a very strong alumni presence in the state of Florida. And generally, these fans do travel very well. But because of all those factors that you mentioned, where this game falls chronologically on the schedule, as well as the challenges of travel, and just the reality that this is not a bowl game that any Sooner fan anticipated their team playing in heading into this season. I do wonder how strong the turnout is when it comes to the Sooner contingent in attendance tomorrow night. I'm not expecting it to be super high, and obviously with this game being played in Orlando, it's going to be a very heavily pro Seminole crowd. So this is, for all intents and purposes, a road game for Oklahoma and an environment in which they're just going to have to embrace that.
I can't believe you insulted CHEEZ-ITs. I'm so stuck on that one for a moment. Sorry, man.
Jason's very much hurt over here, struggling. But you're not even going to come to the bowl game. You're just not going to come. So
Very pro
you
CHEEZ-IT.
can't even talk.
I'm pro CHEEZ-IT. So, I mean, according to our viewers, they don't think I should call it sick. So far, it's undefeated. They think I should call it sick, drive up from Miami, and go from there. So that may happen. You may see.
It's worth it. It's worth it for a football game, I think, to call in sick. I'll be honest with you. If it was anything else, maybe not. Go to work. But for a football game and your favorite with CHEEZ-ITs, I think it's really starting to turn that you're going to have to call in sick.
Parker, prediction time. Who do you got?
I've got the Seminoles, and I've got them by a couple scores in this game. I think they win, and I think they cover. Obviously, for the sake of the fan base of the team that I cover, I would love to be wrong, but I think top to bottom, the Seminoles have a better roster right now, especially when you look at who Oklahoma's missing and who Florida State is not missing by contrast. I just think this is a game that's set up for the Seminoles to take control of as long as they handle their business and don't beat themselves.
Logan, who you got?
I'm right there kind of with Parker. This one will be whoever wins that time of possession will be big, and I think it kind of is going to be the game plan for Florida State like they had in New Orleans against LSU. And, Jordan Travis was able to stay on that field for quite a long while, and they would run, and then be able to take some shots. And both teams explosive. I'm hoping for a fun game, I think it should be fun. I just don't know, like Parker's saying, missing some players and certainly more in depth, but even at the starting position for Oklahoma, Florida State takes the advantage there with having their full roster tomorrow night. I got Florida State 44 and then Oklahoma 21 in this one. I think it's going to go a couple quarters. I think Oklahoma will score, and my biggest concern is watching, what Dylan Gabriel can do there if things get antsy, and I think they'll be able to move the sticks that way. Florida State's got to play smart and make sure that they make some changes at halftime. But hopefully an exciting one for two massive football brands in college football. And I was excited about this game. I understand where Oklahoma's at right now. Brent Venables will turn things around. I have high respect for him. It's just Florida State fans have seen that before too, so it's not like Florida State's just got 3 years ahead of them. Brent Venables in Oklahoma, and it's just going to take a little while. But two big, massive brands, and on national television, it's going to catch eyes. It's going to catch eyes to recruits. So should be hopefully a fun one tomorrow night.
My bold prediction is that Florida State will score more points in the bowl game than the last played Oklahoma in a bowl when we lost 13-2 to them in Orange Bowl. That's a bold prediction, but I think we will score more points this one. I'm a worrier. I'll admit. The Jacksonville game in 2021 and it's going to hurt me for a while. So I know, Logan. I'm supposed to forget it, but it's going to hurt. That's where on the doll. That's where it hurt. I think Florida State wins. I think it's going to be. I want to say 31-21. I think it'll be. I like Brent Venables. I think he's able to put it together to keep Florida State in control for the most of the game. But I think in the second half, Florida State will come out on top. So I'll say 31-21 Florida State. Well,
and now if Florida State gets shut out by some minor miracle, Jason, you're getting freezing cold takes.
So. 100%. In fact, I think Logan's cutting it already and just getting ready to post it.
Yeah.
I think he's
Yeah, I
getting
am.
better.
I will. I'll have the piece ready. We'll put it out on the site if that ends up being the case. But I'm just hoping for explosion play. These are two teams that like to be explosive. So please, for all of us here that get to cover both of these teams, I want explosiveness, and it makes it a lot more fun to write about afterwards, and definitely while we're live tweeting and everything, posting out some highlights. So we'll see what ends up happening. I'm just looking forward to. I've been here all week. I'm just ready for the game to get going. Man.
Parker, we got to end this soon because Logan's go jump in a hot tub with some members of the MarkRogersTV. I think that's his plan right now. He's
that is the plan. It's a little. It got warmer earlier. Now it's a little chilly, so it might be a hot tub move. But I am ready to eat dinner, though. They've got it set up for us, so
Parker, we appreciate you joining us, man. Good luck tomorrow for the Sooners. Logan, we appreciate you joining us. We do it every single week, and we will be back next week, same time, same channel.